Welcome everybody. Merry Christmas. Welcome to December Talk of the Town live from City Hall, Radio
Depot.
City Hall,
The Depot.
and the Depot.
Right here.
One of the oldest buildings in the
town.
city.
That's right.
This is our little studio that we have now. We got our little, pair accoutrements and fake cup of coffee. Dr. Pepper, but not.
Yep.
So thanks everybody for joining us this evening. We're going to talk a little bit about a number of the different topics. We got a bunch of questions from people leading into this conversation. So we wanted to focus on that this month and give you the gift of answers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to thank everybody for joining. We normally come the last Wednesday of the month. Of course, next week, the last Wednesday of this month is actually Christmas Day. So we're coming.
You didn't want to come in on Christmas Day?
No, not at all. So I'm sorry. I'll just be flat out honest. No.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't think anybody would really want to be on and enjoy the
fair.
Talk of the Town. So we decided to come a week early, and we appreciate each and every one of you for jumping on. This is going to be a great, hopefully, probably about an hour. We got a lot of great questions, a lot of good engagement, and really and truly, as Josh and I and others, thought about Talk of the Town and moving it to, this type of a format. This is exactly what we're hoping to see and get out of it. Yeah. And that is engagement with questions, answering questions. And I'll be honest with you, we may not answer 100% of the questions, only because I might not know the answer. But that doesn't mean that we won't get those questions answered in due time over the next couple of days and get you those answers. So, and just so you'll know, I know some of these questions have been submitted over the last 2 or 3 days. And I've always want to keep this as organic as possible of a process. And so literally I haven't really seen these questions till just now. I've seen a couple of questions yesterday, but honestly I haven't seen all these questions until I sat down to take a look at this. So we want it to be, my term, kind of raw, organic,
yep.
Where we're getting these questions in real time and we're trying to disseminate the information. And so it doesn't seem like it's a canned speech or anything like that. This is supposed to be just you and I having a conversation,
yep.
And the people interacting with us and getting their questions to us and answers back to them. So I appreciate everyone who comes on here, and we're going to go through these and roll through it and get to some items at the end that we might have a question about. Some things that are going on in and around us. So let's get started. And we'll answer some of these.
I'll go ahead and ask you the questions. We did 28 questions, 8 of which are water related. So instead of going through each one of those individually, I'm going to read them all out, and then you can expound on them however you see fit. So the first question we received on water says, "My water bill has increased more than once with no extra usage. Please explain. Thanks."
Okay.
The next question is, "There are repetitive cases of people having high water bills, seemingly randomly, and then they suddenly go away. From my outside view looking in, it would appear that there is just a systemic issue with the water billing department. What is this issue, and how is it being actively worked on and or managed to remove and or reduce this issue? Third, why is the water bills continually increasing without reason? Next one. Please address the water bill issues. It's ridiculous to pay this much for water." This one, let's see. We did reply to a couple of comments thanking people for their questions. So just to set up the first part of this comment isn't going to make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
It says, "Why is the city apparently government commenting under unimportant questions like it's something the citizens need to know? I find that odd. Issues like water billing are a problem that we have a right to understand and something that should be a priority. We have the highest water bill around. My water stinks many days and the tubs fill up with yellow, brownish, dingy water and my bill is high. We pay for non-Pearland drinking water, bottled and filtered, because it's so bad."
Let me address the first part of that question real quick, and that way we've got it covered. We don't have to come back to it.
Yeah.
So staff, in addressing some of the lighthearted questions that were on here, simply responded to those. It's not meant to be a slide or not answering your questions at all. this is meant for me to answer these questions to you. This is Talk of the Town Live with the mayor. And so they didn't answer those questions. They're certainly a priority. They're never meant to not be a priority, but these questions are meant for me to answer with you here on the Talk of the Town. So that's the reason why you had a couple of the lighthearted questions answered by staff. And the rest of the questions, there's questions in here about roads, there's questions in here about traffic signals and those types of things. None of those have been answered either because we're waiting for this moment to do that.
And we like all questions. We do take all issues that our residents have seriously because we want the community to feel supported, feel engaged, feel connected.
Correct.
But part of that engagement is that connection piece. Showing you that we're happy to have a conversation about anything and everything.
18.
Okay, next one, 18. When will our water bill go down? There are so many people in Pearland now. Seems like we are paying the price for the city not budgeting our tax money, etc. Right? Just doesn't make sense. And I know you're going to talk on that specifically. This is something that I'm very attuned to, and I want to make sure that when we talk about this, I know we do this regularly. There is a difference between tax money and water, the enterprise system. They are wholly separate systems. So, the tax rate supports general government. Water rates, water bills support the water system. So I didn't want you to have to get down in the weeds on that, and I wanted to make sure we pointed out with that question specifically. But I'm sure you'll touch on the rest of that as well. Okay, next one is why are the water bills outrageous? Other neighboring cities are a fraction of what we pay. It's old. We have lived here 17 and a half years, and the water bills have always been super high. And then the last one is, why are the water bills on a delayed billing system? Difficult to figure out why your bill doubled when it's weeks later. I'm starting to mark on the calendar when I fill pool or water to try to justify my erratic bills. Merry Christmas, everyone. That was the last part of that question, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, so Josh, I'm going to start off on the last one first, and I'm not going to go systematic and answer each question because I'm going to talk water billing in general.
Yeah, there's some overlap in a lot of those.
There's a lot of overlapping, but on that one specifically, first and foremost, and I don't have the list of names. I know in the system we have the names and everything else. First and foremost, I would like for this particular person message back to them to email me directly with that. I want to make sure that there's not something going on for some reason. There's not something being delayed in his system. I want to specifically make sure that we put eyes on that to determine when the billing date, the read date happens and when the bill goes out. So here's what's supposed to happen. You're on a 30-day bill cycle, and so the last day and the meter is read and is inputted, it goes for the billing, and you should have that bill within roughly 10 days-ish, getting that bill in the mail from the read date. Remember, it's got to be processed, it's got to be enveloped, it's got to go through the mail. What I don't know is it just that much slower coming to you in the mail? Don't know. And I don't want to, Pam. So I don't want to assume that it's the mail or anything else. Now, having said that, every single customer can register for our portal, and you can actually, at the end of your billing cycle, you can know your bill before you even get it in the mail.
And you can see your daily usage or your hourly usage every day from the previous day. Right. So it's virtually real time. I mean, as close to real time as possible.
That's correct. So we ran through. I mean, when I came into office, we were in a debacle on billing and delaying those bills, and we have caught all that up. It's been 2 years since we've caught all that up, and everything has been working pretty smooth. So I haven't seen or heard anybody that's getting bills super delayed. Now, again, I'm from the date that your billing cycle gets read to the time you actually physically get a bill in the mail should be about 10 days.
Right.
And it could be quicker than that. Hopefully it's quicker than that. But 10 days is about right. And so again, through the portal and other stuff, you can track your usage on a daily basis. So
So we'll put a comment too in the live stream with a link to that portal if you haven't signed up for it.
Correct.
We highly recommend that you do that. There's you can set alerts on usage. So if your usage spikes over a period of time more than it normally does, can be aware of that. You can set look for water conservation tips, and you can actually pay your bill through the portal directly. So there's a lot of really nice features about it. It's the Pearland Water Customer Portal. Highly recommend signing up for that.
Absolutely. So let's just talk about water in general. I'm going to try to make this as concise as possible. Try to cover the questions that are here and talk about why are our bills as high as they are, and what are we doing? So we've been a fast growth, super fast growth, hyper growth city for about 25 years now. In that, it's taken a lot of time to build this system and get it created. Remember, in the system, when you pay a water bill, you're paying for the treatment of water. You're paying for the treatment of wastewater.
Yep.
You're paying for those systems. You're paying for those plants. You're paying for the people that do it, and everything in between. Okay, and so recently, and I say recently, about 4 years ago, we started a process. 5 years ago, started a process on building a brand new water plant on the west end of our community. Mm-hmm. It is a surface water treatment plant. It's 10 million gallons a day. That plant was $175 million. That cost is borne in the water billing system.
Right.
Okay. It's not a property tax funded deal. Okay. So the dollars to pay for that are reflected in your water billing.
Yep.
Okay. Secondly, growing system. We also have to make sure that our system meets all regulatory requirements. TCEQ at the state level, EPA at the federal level. So a wastewater treatment plant, once it's at a certain capacity, it has to be under engineering to be expanded. Mm-hmm. So it's at 75%. It has to be under engineering, in engineering to be expanded. Once it hits 90, it has to be under construction. So we just recently, and we're wrapping up a project on our wastewater treatment plant on Magnolia, where we've been expanding it. And that expansion is a $75 million cost. So we're real close to finalizing that. All the basins are actually working, and we're trying to close the project out right now. So 75 and 175, that's $250 million in your system.
Right there.
Okay, yep. And that's new capital construction. That doesn't count all of the maintenance and everything else that we have to do to water towers and everything else. So that's 250. And that's reflected in your bills. We've been systematically and having to increase bills to make sure that we're meeting the obligations to pay for that.
Water meters themselves, right? I mean, they just like everything else age out. Our water meters were at end of life. The new meters that we had to have installed anyways, they're smarter. They're what allow you to have the Pearland Water Customer Portal, but it's 40,000 meters. It's a $15 million project.
Yeah, I mean, that process was it was a $13 to $15 million project, and that is all in that water and sewer system. Right. We do a fair amount of debt in that system, so you're not paying cash for the whole thing, which would really choke every single homeowner in business.
And the financing rate is about as low as we could possibly get it.
So we financed that all through the Texas Water Development Board at about 0.5%.
0.5% on $200 million.
Yeah, so I think it's a fair way to get that done, and make sure that we're not making it even more difficult on people. Now, having said that, if you drive by Pearland Parkway and Berry Rose, you'll see a wastewater treatment plant that's under construction right there. Mm-hmm. So this goes back to the regulatory side of things. We have a plant on Dixie Farm Road, Longwood. Mm-hmm. That Longwood plant is 60 years old. We are paying roughly $3 million a year just to keep that plant operational. Mm-hmm. It is in the floodway, not just the floodplain, but the floodway.
Yep.
And every time we have a major storm, that plant goes underwater.
Literally
And so
underwater.
literally, and so you can imagine
Yep.
what happens downstream that the EPA at the federal level doesn't like.
Sure.
So we are under orders, we're under an agreed upon order. We are working on basically collapsing that plant, moving all that back to the Berry Rose plant because it's not in the floodplain. We'll put in a major lift station there and pull all that back. But that capacity that's there has to be replaced.
Right.
Plus, it was at 90% capacity, so we need to add some capacity to it. This is a very complicated process and project, but the cost on all of that is $260 million.
Sure.
And people say, well, what if we didn't do it? What if we didn't do it? Well, EPA, and I'm going to tell you, we have a neighboring city in the Houston metro area that didn't do it.
Right.
And
They answered that question.
they answered that question for us, and their fine by the EPA was $700 million. Just the fine.
And
They still had to do the project.
Yeah.
So it would be absolute dereliction of duty had we ignored it and had a $700 million, $500 million, whatever,
Yeah,
fine
any amount.
from the EPA. So there's been some questions in here about, well, why didn't we budget better? These have been budgeted and planned, so we didn't do $500 million all at once.
Right.
We've been trying to spread it out, and in fact, part of the agreed upon order, even with TCEQ at the state level, they know we had these other projects that are working through, and we're getting to it. So we've been getting waivers from them because they know what we're doing.
Sure.
They monitor us and everything else. So we have to follow through on that. The surface water treatment plant, we are in a part of the country that is basically sinking. Okay, it's called subsidence. Harris County, Galveston County, and Fort Bend County are all in subsidence districts, and we have them on all three sides. We're sinking too. We talk about drainage. Some of the questions in here about drainage. So we're pulling water out of the ground through wells,
Which is causing us to
do that.
Yeah.
So we need to be moving to more surface water. Well,
which is why there's a moratorium on wells.
which is why you can no longer do those
Yep.
types of things. And
Yep.
so it's just a matter of time before we're in a subsidence district. And so we started a process to purchase water out of the Brazos River, surface water. We started that. I'm happy to say I was on the council when we had that forethought to do that almost 30 years ago now. And then when I was on the council 04 through 2010, we bought the land. So we've been systematically moving in that direction. And then the surface water treatment plant that I earlier referenced is where that surface water treatment plant's in place now. Now, water is a super expensive resource.
Sure.
The state of Texas, basically for the last 200 years, has been in drought conditions.
Yeah.
We are a drought state. There's data out there that proves that. And so we have to be resourceful in how we bring in water. Currently, we have been looking at water models for 30 years to make sure that we cover our growth and we have water. And make sure that we can treat that water and send it out. So we get water from the city of Houston, which is out of the Trinity River. We get water from the Brazos River, which is our own surface water that we treat. And then we have ground wells. So it's about a third. Well, say that. 16 million comes from the city of Houston, up to 16 million from the city of Houston, 10 million of our own surface. And then we have about 17 million coming out of 10 ground wells, or 11 or 12 ground wells around the city. And so we have multiple sources of water. We have a diversification of water.
Which is important.
So one of the questions in here is about, well, other cities around us are less expensive than what we are.
Sure.
And so my comment to that is some of these cities have deferred upgrading their system and doing things about their system for many, many years, and that is catching up to them now.
Or it will catch up to them
or it eventually will. The fast growth cities to the south of us are trying to figure out how and where they're going to get enough water to even have and meet the growth.
Sure.
City of Houston has been decades behind in getting their plants to upgrade their water, and that is all raising their bills. In fact, they made an announcement a couple years ago, raising bills 78% over
Yep.
the next 5 years.
Well, and you either pay somebody else to build their system, right, through rates, or
Right.
you invest in your own infrastructure, which is what we've done.
And we've done both.
Right,
We've done both,
Diversified it, yeah.
So people say, well, let's stop buying water from the City of Houston. Well, the 10 million gallons a day that we get out of their Southeast water plant, we are an equity owner.
Mm-hmm.
We actually bought into that plant, so we own a part of that plant.
Yep.
And I might add, at $40 million,
Which is a fraction of
we
what you
just
could do
paid
today.
175 to
Right,
have our own
right.
plant.
Yep.
So this is a very complicated subject. It's not as easy as turning your water on and the water is there.
Sure.
There is a lot of things that happen to get there, and the cost is high. The cost in the neighboring cities and everything around us are going to be skyrocketing because the cost of plants and the cost of bringing this online in the future, and we have solved our future water issues. Doesn't mean that we won't have issues out there in the future, but we've solved how we're going to get water, where we're going to get that. Most cities haven't even come close
Yep.
to where we are, and so while that's not a good answer for why your bill is high,
Well,
but the answer is if we didn't have it, and all of a sudden we're under federal mandates and orders and fines,
or you
to
turn
do
your
it,
tap on and the water doesn't
and the
come
water's,
out.
water's not there. So we talk about that. Well, why do we need the additional water? Why do we need all that? Again, we fast growth city. Some of this has been catch up because
Yep.
you never can build these as fast as you're growing.
Sure.
Some of the wastewater stuff has been catch up
Yep.
from the growth, and then future thinking to make sure that we have water for the future, that we don't have to go and address it.
Yep.
And tweak our system along the way. In addition to that, you've seen rehabs on water towers.
Yep.
Well, those rehabs are $1 million a piece.
And if we don't do them,
Well,
they'll deteriorate over time. And
it's not just that. We're mandated
right
by
right.
TCEQ to do those.
Yep.
So we have to go and do those things to make sure that our water system is up to code and everything else.
Superior, yeah.
So all of that goes into it, and it's that water bill. So in your water bill is the cost of water, is the cost of wastewater,
Yep.
and then the cost of your garbage collection.
Yep.
That is your utility bill. So garbage is a utility, both water and wastewater are utility. And so that's where it's at. So I'm hoping that addressed.
Well, and I was going to
most
say
of these,
too, I
and
was going to suggest to all those questions that about water costs specifically, go back to our budget conversations from August and look at all of the conversations about water rates, all the things that go into calculating the water rate because it's a self-sustaining system, all the comparison to other municipalities around us, both on residential and commercial rates, and then the impact on an average consumer. There's a lot of good content there. We spent a lot of time
before
talking
we
about.
move off of this, I also one of the questions I do need to address.
Well, there is one question there that came in on it too.
But I do want to address it, and it's the systemic, seeing stuff out on social media and that type of thing. So we'll address that. But to that end, so we look at the cost of water. We look at our neighboring cities. We look at a 6,000 gallon and a 12,000 gallon customer,
Which are pretty average numbers.
which is pretty average numbers. And if you were scale from the lowest to the highest, our 6 is just above midpoint, and our 12 is a little higher than that of the midpoint. It's not the highest, it's not the lowest, but there is movement in between. On our business rates, we are the highest. Now, people are going to say, okay, well, we're the highest in the area. Can we do something? Well, the larger your meter, businesses have larger meters, the higher your rates are.
Right.
In a roundabout way, the business community is subsidizing the residential rate.
Yep.
If we had that the same rate as everyone else, residential rates would rise.
Right. Right.
Okay, so council I want to say 6 years ago, put that into place. It was
Yep.
before my time as mayor. Put that in place, and so like a major apartment complex is usually going to be a 6-inch meter, which is one of the highest rates
Sure.
that's out there. So,
Yep.
but I want to address the systemic issue. Seeing this stuff out on social media, they have a problem, inexplainable, and everything else. So I'm going to be pretty candid with this comment.
You candid?
Yeah, I'm going to be
No.
pretty candid and straightforward with this comment, and I'm going to give you some examples without giving names. So I've asked Josh and the team for a while that I wish I had a rest of the story page that we could go to and say, here is the social media complaint, and here's the rest of the story.
Here's all the, yep.
Because there's always more to the story than gets put out on social media. And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples, and then we're going to move on, okay? Example number one, this was fairly recent. We had somebody on social media complain that their water bill was inexplicably high. They made it a point, all caps, no, I do not have a leak. All caps, I do not have a leak. This happens from time to time. It's inexplainable, and off we go. I actually reached out to the person. They wanted to wait because they were going to do a leak detection company coming in and all this kind of stuff. I was a little more proactive than that, sent that to staff and said, hey, reach out, get a hold of them, and let's see what's going on so we can diagnose what's going on. Let me back up for just a second, having said that. When we have a customer come to me, we go and do, we pull data. It's always in the data. We pull their meter profile, and it profiles hour by hour the usage. So I can look at your meter profile and determine really what happens in your home.
Sure.
From a standpoint of, I can see at 11 o'clock at night, I don't see any more usage until maybe somebody gets up in the middle of the night and you see a gallon or two at 3, and then at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning you start seeing usage because people are up, they're fixing breakfast, they're getting showers for the day and all those kind of things. And then you see at 8 o'clock, 8:30, they're gone. You see zeros through the day, and then you see usage at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, into the evening, bedtime, here it goes, and it replicates. In the summertime, if they've got sprinkler systems that are on time systems, you can see at 4 a.m. it kicks on and it runs for an hour, maybe it runs for 2 hours, whatever their system is set for. So you can see that usage. If you look at that meter profile and you see small amounts every single hour, that is, and in fact, the portal, if you're hooked into that, will actually show you red that they're suspecting you've got a leak somewhere because you have continuous usage.
Sure. Okay.
So that's the data that you can use. We at the city, we don't have any idea what's going on the other side of the meter.
Yeah.
You might not have a leak. You might have somebody that hasn't turned the faucet off. I mean,
right.
And that's not a leak.
Yeah.
You just, as simple as that.
Yep.
But it could be a toilet leak. It could be a leak in this system or that system. Could just be leaving a water hose on overnight. And here's this big bill, right? So back to the person, social media, do not have we reach out, and I get the email from staff on how we resolve this. The customer told our customer service folks, well, I just had a toilet leak fixed. Now, social media post, no, I do not have a leak, because she posted that after she had her toilet leak fixed. Okay? Actually reached out to the person, said, did you say this? And she admitted she said that, and we gave her leak credit and all those kind of things. That's just one. Another one, a couple years ago, same thing. They were out on one of the social media pages, complained about super high water bill. We got involved in it. We went and looked. She even said, this customer said, the city just kept telling me I have a leak, kept telling me we have a leak, kept telling me I have a leak. So we got involved in it. We pulled the stuff. And by the way, all of those phone calls are recorded for customer service reasons. And so one of our staff members listened to the 29-minute phone call, and not a single time did a City of Pearland staff member say, ma'am, you have a leak. Not a single time.
In 29 minutes
In
of
29
conversation,
minutes.
yeah.
Okay, their conversation was very pleasant. It was very professional. The person asked for troubleshooting. What should I look for? What can I look for? They walked through. Have you checked your toilets? Have you checked your sinks? Have you checked this? Have you checked that? Do you have? I notice you have a timed usage every other day. You've got usage going on for 2 hours. That's a sprinkler system typically.
Yep.
Okay, because it's timed. It's the same amount every
Yep.
2 days.
Yep.
I have, but it's off. It's off. Okay, how old is it? 5 years old, so it's a newer system. Okay. Do you have power surges? Yes. Some systems with power surge will turn back on and reset
To the
factory defaults.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Resolve the issue. But on social media,
Right. The optics don't always tell the entirety of the story.
but on social media, it's the narrative
Yeah.
that you see out there.
Yeah.
Without exception, almost every single one of these that I've been involved in, there has been something discovered on the homeowner end that resolves the issue. Now, having said that, if it's resolved, you can get a leak adjustment.
Yep.
If it's truly unexplainable and you don't know, but it's not continuing to happen, we'll give you a high volume discount.
Sure.
And we'll reduce that. So those are out there. I just wish sometimes we could do and go and tell the rest of the story, because sometimes it is unexplainable. But I've had high water bills because I have an issue with my sprinkler system right now. I have it off and I have it the water turned off to it as well, because I know I have a leak and I just haven't had the opportunity to get.
Oh, you didn't go to
get it fixed.
Facebook?
No, I stayed off Facebook on that one. But so a lot of times the question came back, water bill, what is the issue and how is it being actively, back here, it just seems like they suddenly go away. Well, they do go away because
The issue was resolved.
the issue was
Well,
resolved.
and
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I mean, just from my experience with our customer service team, they take every single one of those situations seriously. Like a 29-minute phone conversation with a resident, right? They treat everyone with the urgency that it should be treated with. It's important to that customer, and it's important for us to take it seriously. We're familiar with all of the community groups, the Talk of Pearlands and things like that. As a government entity, we don't inject ourselves into those groups because it's not our place to get involved in that, right? The community wants to have their own conversations, and that's totally fine. We want to respect that. But we also want to help people get things resolved. And so when you see posts like this in Talk of Pearland, if they're not driven to the city, if they're not coming to us to help resolve the issue, there's nothing we can do about it.
You don't resolve this
issue.
issue on Talk of Pearland.
Right.
You resolve it by calling customer service. Now, I also want to say this. When I walked into this job, we changed some of the standard operating procedures for when calls come in. Because there was a point in time where we did have staff, you must have a leak.
Sure.
And that was part of the narrative.
Not saying we're perfect.
Absolutely. And so we learned from those, and so now that is not in the narrative.
Yep.
They are instructed, you don't do that. You do not know what happens on the other side.
Exactly.
You don't. If you're asked, you can point to some troubleshooting, but it's really on the homeowner to come back and engage and understand what's going on their side. Now, having said that, we go out, we change meters out. We have tested meters. It's interesting. We'll pull a meter to go test it. We'll put the new meter in, leave it for over a month, and let's see if there's a change. If there's a change, then we look at that meter a little bit more in depth. But most of the time, it shows the same exact data as the previous meter, because it comes back and it's
accurate,
and it's tests within the margin of error for accuracy. And so it's not a perfect system, but it is a system that has checks and balances to it.
Sure.
It also has some fail-safe issues to it. And we have an incredible team that's dedicated to it. It's highly sophisticated because it relies on a lot of IT,
Yep.
towers around town and the whole thing. And so we take each and every phone call, we take each and every post out there extremely serious.
Yep.
To make sure that we find an issue, because there are some that come back that it is a meter issue.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And it's a meter. It's a mechanical object.
Right.
It's got a corrosive agent, water, running
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
And so there can be some issues there. And so I caution people, when you see things out on social media, take some of it with a grain of salt. I've asked each and every person, when I get those and see those, bring me an email.
Yep.
We get immediately involved, and generally within that day, within 3 days,
Get
it's
it
usually resolved.
Yeah. Comment I wanted to get to up here about water rates, because I think we can address this pretty directly. Lita says, I'm retired and monitor all my monthly bills. I don't understand how my bill is higher at this time of year, not watering the yard, and no extra water is being used.
I mean, I don't know unless without seeing and comparing
Yeah.
the meter profile. The meter profile is where the evidence and the data is.
Well,
in
and
all that.
For some of our minimal customers that use the minimum amount of water, so the only thing they're getting is the base monthly charge.
Right.
What you would have seen recently, I guess starting in November,
Your November billing would have had the increase in it.
would have had the annual increase, which was 7%. That's the the Office of Budget, Office of Management and Budget. When they go through the budgeting process and present all the information to council, they say, all right, here are all the projections. Here's what the rate model says needs to happen. And they project out for the next several years where the rate would need to be, or how much it needs to increase or decrease, or whatever the case may be, to satisfy the system, to make sure there's enough money to pay for all the things that need to happen and keep the whole thing running. And this last year was a 7% increase. So it is possible, if you paid the base amount and only used less than 2,000 gallons every month,
that you had an increase.
your bill went up 7% in November. That's the reason for that potentially.
And that makes sense. Let's go ahead and go through the rest of our questions here.
Yeah.
We'll get to this.
Yeah.
We've been moving along pretty
All right.
good.
Do you want hard-hitting questions or fun questions?
Either one.
All right.
You know me.
So the first one, I'm not real sure how to do this one. It said, I would love to figure out how we were related. You and the commenter, I don't know what the commenter's name was.
So on this, my mother was a Cole and her family was in Louisiana and Texas. None of my ancestors came through Louisiana.
Okay.
I do have ancestors.
So maybe a different Cole branch?
From a portion of Texas, but most of my clan came through Oklahoma and the Carolinas to Oklahoma to Texas. Not to say that there's not, relationships somewhere there. It'd be interesting to see if we could figure that out.
So Galen, that's the answer there. Go back and look to see if you have anybody in Oklahoma and up through that area, and you might find a connection. What made you want to go into politics, and at what age did you realize this?
That's a great question. I actually got involved politically in the community in 1992. Okay. So that would have been 32 years ago. So I ran for office in '95. Was elected and served a 3-year term. And so, what made me do it? It was not something on my radar at all. It was just not. I tell people, I'm just going to say, when people ask me why are you involved, I'll just tell you, I feel like I'm called to public service. I feel like I'm called to this arena. It could be much easier if I wasn't. I was
going to say, you have to have like something a little,
Yeah, you got to be a little off sometimes to do this. No, I think if people are doing it for the right reasons to help the community and provide leadership, foresight, those types of things to the community, they're doing it for the right reasons. They're called into it. There are plenty of people who get into it for other reasons because they want to go up the ladder, they want to move to this office, to that office, and that happens. But the vast majority of public officials that I know in the greater Houston area are doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do the best they can for their communities, so they're safe, they're clean, well planned, well thought out, trying to do it all the right way. And it's challenging. All of that is challenging.
Yeah.
It's much easier said than done. It's very, very challenging. And so I feel like I'm called to it. I'm in the real estate development industry and all that for my day job, but my talent, I feel like, is strategic planning. And so what does that mean? It's like sometimes we know where we want to go, but now how do we get there?
Right.
How do you put the plan together to get there? And that's the strategic planning side of things.
And that's local government. Generally speaking.
And so that's kind of what we've been doing, here locally, for the last 4 years since coming back into office, is really putting together strategic planning and making sure that our council is in on the plan and how are we doing it, and our council helping with that plan, and then turning that over to staff to do it, implement it.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden we have to budget for it as well. And so with out there in mind, whether it's 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, or we've got things that we need to plan for that are a couple years down the road.
Sure.
So just making sure that we do those. So that's why I'm involved and why I got into it.
It's awesome.
So I would have been just before 30 years old, and the realization to get involved.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
This one says, we'd love to hear about any Cole pets, current or previous, or maybe adopting from the shelter in the future, ?
So first and foremost, I have 13 grandkids. So I don't know if those count as pets. So I'm not quite sure if that counts as pets. But no, all joking aside, we had a little Maltipoo. We had him about 12 years. 12 years. We lost him about 2 years ago. And since then, we just haven't had the desire to go and get another one at this point. He was a rescue, and so we haven't had that call to just go and do that just yet at this point. So, but we've had pets through the years, and
I mean, Christmas is next week, and the shelter's full, so
I'm aware.
What's your favorite thing about Pearland? That's our question number 4 here.
Yeah, and the really and truly, it's the people of our community. I tell people all the time, it's the largest small town in America, and you know that by the way our people respond to needs in our community, and it's really people helping people. It's been that way. I've been here for 47 and a half years, and I've never known it to not rise up and meet needs.
Yep.
And I always tell people, as long as that need is known, sometimes we as humans get into a bad situation and our pride gets in the way sometimes, and we don't want to let people know that we've got a difficult time.
Sure.
And so if the need is known, there are people in this community that will help meet needs.
Yeah.
We have great organizations, nonprofits, churches, and the like, as well as just incredible giving individuals. And all collectively, I've seen incredible needs met and met quickly when things happen. And so it's really the people of this community. I love where we're located and all those kind of things, but it's the people of the community that make it special. Well,
and you say that, your predecessor, Mayor Reed, used to talk about how we're building something special here. And man, did he believe it. And I think that there is, he was right.
He's right. And I'll say this, in the position I'm in, you get to see a lot of different things in our community.
Yeah.
You come in touch with a lot of different people, a lot of different organizations, a lot of different interests. And so you get to see it kind of all. You get to see what our incredible youth are doing. Yeah. Our Dawson Ensemble Band, there is in Chicago right now, representing the state of Texas. They are the #1 band in the state of Texas. They're a concert band. #1 band in the state of Texas, representing the state of Texas in Chicago at a national deal. That's our youth.
Yep. And the Shadow Creek Junior Sharks.
Yeah, their junior football team won the Super Bowl, and we celebrated them a couple of nights ago. And so just incredible things that are going on in our community that our youth do. And so all of that is our people.
Yep.
And it's incredible to watch. It's an absolute honor to be a mayor and celebrate what our people do. So
Absolutely.
That's what I love about our community.
Yeah. The next one, I think I'll actually answer this one because I just got a text about it from the Public Works, but it says, how come the Christmas decorations weren't put out on, how come the cute Christmas decorations weren't put out on Pearland Parkway by HEB? So the reason for that is they put them at the entrance markers, and there had another part to that. Entrance signs and monuments. So they just put them in different positions around the community.
Oh,
so
that makes sense. I have seen them at the monuments.
Yeah.
Okay.
So get out there and go see all of them because they are definitely out in the community.
Yeah.
If someone, so I guess we're getting into more serious questions now. If someone wanted to extend a school zone speed limit, how would one go about addressing this?
So ultimately, I always tell people just send it to me in an email. Please, send me an email. The staff can put my email address out there. That would be something that would actually go to our traffic committee.
Yep.
So we have a traffic committee made up of Public Works, our engineering, our traffic folks, as well as our public safety folks, and they review each and every one of those requests. There's also state guidelines on those types of things, as well as engineering standards that they look into, and they'll render a decision and figure out and make it happen. I would like to say if you turn it over to traffic committee tomorrow that you'd have an answer in a week. It's not the case. It's usually a month or so out, just by the number of requests that are coming in, and they meet once a month. So we'll put the email address out there, and they can email me that request.
Okay, next is, why hasn't Smith Ranch Road been widened? Why aren't there street lights on the road? It's very dangerous.
Yeah, it's a great question. So great news. Smith Ranch Road has been a project that we have been contemplating and getting done. The funding is coming through the federal government, through HJC and our Transportation Policy Council. Great news, Monday 2 weeks ago, we issued a contract on that roadway. So we would expect mobilization of a contractor going to 4 lanes, curb and gutter, divided boulevard, probably in the first of the year, mobilization, getting out there and getting started. So,
awesome.
So that's great news. Obviously, on the tail end of that would be lights and all of that.
Yep. Which would go through the traffic committee potentially, depending on
not traffic signals, but the street lights.
The
street lights are usually on the tail end of getting that. So the good news is that road is coming. It's taken a bit to get there. This is a perfect example of, and I'll just say it, what's broken in Washington, D.C., and that's the environmental process of getting these things through. The environmental process is extremely difficult and extremely time consuming. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, not awesome, but thank you for answering the question. Okay. How can I petition to get a traffic light time span lengthened? The light going north at Old Alvin and Broadway has about a 15-second turn on green, which once you factor in driver's reaction times yields a max of 4 cars. Many a time I was running on time or early for Mass, and that light has derailed me. Sorry about that. Nobody wants to be late for Mass.
So start praying earlier. Yeah. No.
Pray in the car.
Pray and get there just a little. No. Same thing. I think this would be a traffic committee question. Let's focus on it and bring it to traffic committee to take a look at and see if we can't retime that a little bit.
Because we do have a traffic division, and they are looking at timing, all the time. Right. Lights everywhere. Mm-hmm. But with so much traffic in the city, I mean, that's a perpetual game that they're playing.
It is.
Keeping that going. Okay, next one is there a formal plan for handling the increased water that will be flowing into the drainage ditches waterways from the new developments, commercial, residential, and industrial, going in various parts of town? I'm very concerned that the older and lower lying neighborhoods will be negatively impacted by the new construction where dirt is brought in.
So this is a great question. We're talking about drainage here. Yep. We're talking about water runoff, stormwater runoff. So the city of Pearland has probably the most, one of the most stringent, strictest drainage criterias in the greater Houston area.
Yep.
And have for over 30 years now. And I'm proud to say, we had a flood of 1994, and in about 97, 96, 97, changed our criteria.
I didn't realize that's
based
what did
on some floods in 94. And I was a part of a council that strengthened what we have. And I come out of the development industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it was very, very important that we did to protect not only existing development and existing homes, but also making sure that what went in new would do well.
Doesn't have a negative impact.
It doesn't have a negative impact on other people, and doesn't have a negative impact for those who buy in a brand new neighborhood.
I see.
And so the detention requirements and those types of things, we were the first city in the state of Texas to require detention. So we were a leader in that, and that was all part of that movement back
So
then.
all the ponds you see at like Baker's Landing
Correct.
and Shadow Creek Ranch, those are all just detention ponds.
Correct.
Treated as
Correct. And so to answer their question a little bit, I'll get a little wonky on technical here, and then we'll move on. But every single development has to look at pre-development flow and post-development flow.
Sure.
And the law says they can't have post-development flow off of the property any faster than the pre-developed flow.
Yep.
So there's a lot of engineering and a lot of data that's run based on topographical information, right? And so that's when ponds are done, they retain water and it's metered out, over time. So I will say, in most of if you go back to the big floods, even Harvey, you did have some newer developments that took some water on, but for the most part, in a major flooding situation, it's anything that was built pre-94 had the problems. Anything post-94 didn't. And that's not hard and fast, but the majority of the issues in town of major floods are developments that were built pre-94. And so, having said that, in 2023, we had a bond election.
Yep.
A lot of that was drainage focused.
3 million,
There was
106
106
Just in
million
drainage.
just in drainage.
Yep.
And so we have been systematically over the last 30 years dealing with our drainage system. A lot of it is I can't go and fix a neighborhood drainage system if the water can't go anywhere.
Sure.
So we have to
Fix
work
the
on the
regional.
system from the creeks backwards. So you've seen channel improvements. You've seen the large detention ponds on Mary's Creek. There on Magnolia. You've seen those types of things built. And those have been built over time, so we have a place to move the water before it goes to the creek.
Yeah.
And so now that we've done all of those works over the last several decades, now we can go in and start dealing with more localized flooding issues because the water has a place to go.
Makes sense.
Having said all that, we have the now famous Clear Creek plan. It's been 60 years in the making. We're very close. We now, for the first time in the history of 60 years, we actually have a project in DC moving forward
with funding attached to it.
with funding, with design,
Yeah.
and hopefully construction coming back. It's still going to probably 2032 before it's built, completed, but it's coming. And what that's going to do is allow water to get out a little bit quicker. It should lower the water surface elevation during a flood even better and help us. Now, having said all that, there are instances where something's not working right. Maybe it was engineered and it was constructed wrong. Something maybe happened that's real super localized. What I just gave you was kind of the general thoughts of detention and drainage and how it works. But if there's anything, the law says that you can't flood your neighbor.
Right.
So if that's happening, we need to know more specific where that's going on so we can address it. So,
we need residents to reach out to us for that.
Yeah, great question.
Okay, so next one is there anything you can do to get the people pitched their tents near the Macy's and the town center?
Yeah, I know the situation they're talking about. I actually had somebody reach out to me yesterday. Yeah, this was out on social media, and apparently there's a tent pitched on one of the vacant pieces of property out there between town center and 288, one of the vacant pieces of land out there. So here's the thing. A lot of people are concerned, homeless and all of that. So share a little bit about what we can do and where and what we can't do and how we address it. Number one, if somebody is homeless and they're pitching a tent and it's on public property, one of our parks, right of way, city hall, whatever, it's on public property. State law says we can remove them and do what we need to do, right? And we do. We've had those instances where we go and do that. If it's on private property, so many times like this is a tent that's pitched on private property, we can't just go and remove, okay? We have to get the property owner involved. Property owner has to make a complaint. Now, this specific instance, we've had PD out there on 2 different occasions, and there's nobody in the tent. The tent is just there and it's empty. And so we did have somebody check last night. There was no one there, and we got a hold of the property owner late yesterday. The property owner said they were okay with the tent being there. So that's when we get into the problem. Okay, is the property owner's not making the request or a complaint. So then we have to get code enforcement involved because of, I guess, quasi-residential and a commercial thing, and so it's all of those kind of things. And that process just takes time. So from time to time, you'll have a strip center where there might be somebody homeless hanging out. It takes that private property owner, that business owner, to make a complaint to have them removed. We can't just go and do. And so we have to abide by state law, and those are the differences of what we can and can't do.
Got it. All right. Next one says, how are the Pearland monoliths off 288 funded, and what was the cost and expected ROI?
Great question. So the pear sculptures and related landscaping, trees, lighting, and enhanced lighting on the frontage road, as well as the detention areas and fountains and all that. The beautification project was a project funded by the Pearland Economic Development Corporation. So without a doubt, there was not a single property tax dollar that went into that.
Because the PDC is funded by sales tax?
It's funded by a half-cent sales tax. In addition to that, the Economic Development Corporation has done very good on some investments in projects that have paid back, and they had a pretty hefty cash balance, so there was no debt in that. It was all cash. The project, if I remember correctly, because it was in process just about the time that I came on as mayor, all phases between design and everything was right at $20 million. And so as far as expected ROI, I don't know the answer to that. I can certainly see if they had an expected ROI for doing that. I can tell you what it does is it gives our city an identity when you're driving in. As we are recruiting companies and primary companies, I'm not talking retail or restaurant, but I'm talking primary companies to come in like we see up and down Kirby, on the west end of our community. Those CEOs and others, they want to know that we take pride in our community. They want to know.
They want to see a sense of place.
They want to see a sense of place, sense of arrival. And so we've had a fair amount of good success out there in recent years. So I would think, as far as the ROI is concerned, that's where a lot of it is. Now, the second question that I always get is who's paying to maintain it. So there's a municipal management district that is the properties that front 288. So all the way from the town center all the way up to Bass Pro Shop, and that they have a tax that can't exceed 10 cents. So I think currently the tax rate's like 8 cents on those properties, and those dollars go in to maintain all of that. So if you're not in that strip, you're not paying for that.
Interesting. Okay, the next one says, I thought a bond was passed for a fire station off Bailey near the bridge between 35 and Veterans. Is this happening, or am I mistaken? And then there was a follow-up to it that said they checked and it was Prop D. And then the second part of that question, they asked, also, what did we do with all the mulch made from the hurricane debris around the city? Sell, dump?
Yeah, so great question. So it was part of the 2023 bond program. We also said that program, all of the A through D, I think it was, would be started and or completed within 5 years. 2023, we're at the end of 2024. We also said that the fire station itself would be later in the program. because it has major implications on our budget. We've got to staff it, so that's people, and then probably the biggest hindrance of doing it early is getting the fire trucks and equipment in there.
Sure.
A fire truck right now, from order to delivery, a regular fire truck is anywhere from 32 to 36 months, and a ladder truck is about 44 to 48 months.
Yeah.
So if we had the station there right now, we wouldn't have trucks in it.
Exactly.
So we had to time the fire station to the back end. To the debris field next to the rec center after Barrel, that mulch by TCEQ rule can't be used as regular mulch like you see around the city.
Because it's not regular debris.
So as part of our contract with the company that comes in and does it, there are organic companies. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Trying to remember the name of the company that came and picked up all the mulch.
Oh.
But they use it and they do a breakdown of it somehow, and it's all purchased and part of that contract.
The contract. Yep.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
it helps offset a little bit of that cost of our contract on that.
All right, there you go. Speaking of sales tax, how much money is Pearland expected to get in sales tax from the holiday shopping season?
So I don't have an exact figure, so I'm gonna guesstimate a little bit of this. One, between the city 1 cent sales tax and the EDC half-cent sales tax, we should receive somewhere around $45 million this year. 15 million to EDC, 30 million to the city. So that's 4 months. That's 4 million. So typically so I would estimate Christmas, December sales tax receipts usually, we do see a bump. So probably somewhere in the 5 million range is what I would expect.
That sales tax report will come out in, I think February. Yeah.
It's 2 months delay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that information will be out there for the public as well when that comes out. Let's see. This one starts out very nice. Good salutation. Hi, Mayor Cole. Can we please get the light fixed turning into Shadow Creek High School from 518? As a lot of the time it only allows 3 to 4 cars through the mornings. I've previously reported this issue with no luck.
Yeah, it's one. I'll make sure we turn it over to our traffic division to make sure they take a look at it on the timing.
Yep.
So.
And again, that's any of those traffic signals. You can send them to us. Contact the city or the mayor through the email address, and we'll make sure traffic gets those as well. Next one, similarly, a lot of left turn signals are being reported as skipping several cycles recently in Pearland, including the one on Forest Park and Lakes of Highland Glen. Is this due to weather or fog affecting sensors around the city? It seems to only affect left turn signals.
Yeah, it's another one we'll turn over to our traffic division to take a look at the signals there. All the ones that are traffic signal related, we'll do the same thing. We'll make sure that we turn these in and have some attention done to them.
This one's about lights on a playground. Who can I contact about adding lights to the playground and walking trail around Centennial Park? When there's a softball tournament, there are kids playing in the park. Also, with the time change, there are people walking around in the dark. It is not safe due to the uneven path.
So this would be an additional project, capital improvement project to Centennial Parks. This would be something we'd have to run through the Parks Department in our capital division to make sure that how, when, and where we would cost it and make that happen. We can certainly send the request up and see if we can get it addressed.
Yep. Okay. Next question is who's in charge of fixing the streets in Southwick Section 1? The drains and curbs are buckled very badly.
So that's something, we'll just take a look at it. I know curbs and those types of things, we are probably aware. So I will say, whoever's on there, if we can send them a note to email me direct an address. Again, we don't need to put their address here.
Sure.
But if they'll send me an email with an address so we can specifically make sure that it's being taken a look at, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, and one thing you might be able to do that might be helpful, we do have a streets reconstruction page on our website that has an interactive map of all of our pavement condition index as well as where we're going to be working in the next 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9, so forth and so on. And you might be able to find some information there potentially, but still reaching out directly to the mayor will be helpful too. Okay, this one, it is no traffic light one. It's traffic lights along 518 and 288. Just asking when they're going to be synchronized. And so we'll send that to traffic as well. 27. Why don't we still have a city pool?
So the pool that we had at Independence Park, we actually do have a city pool. It's the natatorium. You can actually join the natatorium and go and enjoy it. But
very nice pool.
Very nice pool. Actually just reconditioned and reopening this weekend to the public. So, but we still, the city pool that we had at Independence Park, I'm going to give you some numbers. The very last year that the pool was active, it had a total income of people going to the pool of about $3,500. And it cost us $170,000 to maintain it.
Yeah, that's not a good return.
And the cost to maintain it kept going up and up and up and up as the pool was 40 plus years old. So the decision was made. In fact, I think the decision was made before I even became mayor to go ahead and take the pool out. Now in Independence Park Phase 2, which the voters approved in the 23 bond election, we're going through that, look and feel how, where, and what we want to do. I do know that the master plan has always called for some type of water feature, back in that park. I know that there's been a lot of people ask about some kind of a water pool. Is it a wave pool? You're probably not going to have that type of pool back. But some type of interactive experience with water, going on in that area. So, but it was a decision that was made. It's kind of funny. I had a lot of people have said, "Well, I miss going to the pool." Well, I guess they were hopping the fence because there was not a lot of people going to the pool, before it closed, and so. That's a pool I grew up going into. I know you lived around the corner from it growing up.
I mean, I learned how to swim there, and I was a lifeguard there. So there
sentimental value.
Sentimental, very for sure. But I think I see a lot of that in the community, and to expand on what you said, that's the tricky part about taxpayer being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Is it fair or reasonable to ask the entire community to pay for or subsidize the cost of something that a small fraction of the community is using, right? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But when you have something that should be a revenue, at least generate some revenue, that makes $3,000 and costs you 150 times that to maintain, and on top of that needed another $600,000 or $700,000 in renovation to make it efficient, it just starts to not make sense. And we can't just live on nostalgia. We'd be broke all the time on that. And then the last question we had here was another traffic question. Can the lights at Magnolia and Veterans get a blinking yellow light, especially at night? This would be so helpful. And also just to redo Veterans Road between Magnolia.
So on both these, so on the blinking yellow, the city has been systematically getting to each intersection that has yellow turn signals to install blinking yellow. We have about 104, 105 traffic signaled intersections. So it's time and money and systematically getting to them. So we are working on it. I can't tell you what the timing is for this one. It's certainly something we can take a look at post and see if we have a timing for when that's going to happen. The second part of this question, good news on this, actually a rework of Veterans between Magnolia running south to Bailey. We are very, very close. I think in January we should sign our interlocal agreement with Brazoria County on our rework of pavement work with them for 2025, and Bailey is a part of that. That section of Bailey is a part of that. I wish I could tell you the date that's going to happen. I don't have it off the top of my head. But going back to Streets Division under engineering, you have that
Yep.
That
Interactive map.
That the map that's on there.
Yep.
And it has it highlighted, and it has it, I think, somewhere in the next 3 to 6 months.
I believe that's right. Yep.
Correct. Yeah. So it's coming, which is a great thing.
So live questions here. Daggett's District 25. He's watching on YouTube. Looks like he said, has the per gallon rate? This is going back to water. Has the per gallon rate increased, or is there a threshold where the rate adjusts? Well,
We have tiered rating.
Tiered rating, but the overall rate went up 7%
Correct.
this year.
Correct.
And then it is tiered.
It's
so
tiered. So if you
0
use
to
a base
2,000,
amount,
yep.
then you have a certain amount. After 2,000, it goes, and I think it's after 6.
I think
Or is
that's
it?
right.
Yeah, I can't remember the tiers off the top of my head.
Tiers are all on the website too, and you
Yeah.
can see the per tier rate, the previous rate, and then the new rate, I believe, are both on there.
And the tiered rating system is there to really encourage people to conserve water.
Yes, that's right. Next one, we answered Sarah's question. She finds the portal helpful. That's good. Linda on YouTube asked, why doesn't Pearland record its events and put on Pearland TV? We actually do that. We record all of these events, so this is being recorded and will be rebroadcast later on.
She may be talking about like the Christmas tree lighting ceremonies,
yeah.
those types of things. So I think that's it's good feedback.
That is, yeah. So we do most of the events. So Celebration of Freedom is a great one that we do a live broadcast of that. We didn't do Hometown Christmas Festival specifically because there's a lot of performance on that stage that's copyrighted, and we aren't allowed to live stream or broadcast those things. Even though we do have a BMI and ASCAP license, we have proof that we're allowed to play copyrighted content.
Yeah.
They tend to get flagged and pulled down, and we can't get can't risk having the channel shut down for live meetings that we have to broadcast and things like that. Next one, shout out to the Pearland MTB guys that helped manage those Clear Creek biking trails. Okay, yeah, thanks. Please don't forget to answer the fire station bind question. Thank you. I think fire station bond, yes. I think we covered that one.
We did.
Great info. Thank you for answering my questions. Good job. Good. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I think we're all caught up there. Couple other things we got coming up.
Yeah, let's go quick. I know we're kind of going over time.
Well, over our lot of time. I mean,
yeah.
It's our stream. We can run however long we want.
Ah, that's true.
You want to stay here all
That's
night?
True.
We can see.
That's true. That's true.
So it is the holiday season, so we have a couple of administrative offices closures coming up soon. So administrative offices will be closed Christmas
Tuesday,
Eve,
Wednesday.
Christmas Day,
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Obviously, police and fire aren't closing. I mean, you'll still have emergency services and things like that.
Right.
I believe the rec center is on modified hours
Right.
during those times, so check their schedules for that.
Right.
Other things we have going on, lots of employee recruiting, lots of open positions in the city. We just had a really great PD testing
We
day.
did. We had over 60,
We had
90?
90? Over 90 people show up to the test.
Testing.
I believe 70 qualified. So
when you have a department that's highly ranked and professional that ours is, a lot of people want to be in there.
Yep.
Our fire department has a testing schedule coming up here in January. Same thing. We're the second largest fire department in the metro area, so a lot of people want to be here.
Yep.
So no doubt we'll have a lot of people testing, but you can go out and look.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a part of that, you can sign up for that.
So yeah, the fire department, their testing day is on January 25th. So if you've ever wanted to be a firefighter, now's your opportunity for one of the best fire departments in the area. They have a bunch of cool equipment. They have they respond to so many calls, it's insane. They respond to a residential fire like once every 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Or structure fire, not residential. But they're responding to calls all the time. So lots of action there and lots of training. We have some really cool equipment for training, multi-story burn buildings and all sorts of
As I tell
good stuff.
people all the time, I said, I don't want them training on my house. I want them to get in and get the work done. They have tools to train with, so when they get to your place, they're ready to go.
And then another big position, and this is just an individual position. I say it's big because we have a lot of priorities in the city. We have a lot of employees, and it is it can be challenging to add as many people as you need to get the jobs done. One of the positions that was added in the budget this fiscal year is a Chief Customer Experience Officer. And this is an interesting addition because one of the focal points and one of the things we talk about a lot is customer experience. And how do we do those things more efficiently, more effectively, and better overall. So if you go to our main website, there's a very prominent careers section. If you know somebody that has a strong background in customer experience, we want to talk to them about that because that's a very important role for the city and something that we're very intrigued in.
It's exciting to kind of see this come along. And you know, since I've been mayor, one of the things that we always talk about and I call it harp on a little bit is just who do we work for?
Right.
You know, we work for the people who call Pearland home, and so we want to make sure that the customer experience, our customers are the people that we have good customer experience.
Yeah.
And you know, people are going to say, well, I had a bad experience here. I had a bad. Okay. We understand that. We want to change that narrative.
Yeah.
We want to change to where the experiences that you have with employees of the city of Pearland are exceptional. And so it's going to take a focus across the board to make this happen. And so the city of Pearland, it's a people business.
That's right.
It is. You look at our budget, 70+% of it is people in the M&O side of our budget. And I mean, firemen, policemen, you know,
communication.
I mean, there are
Yep.
people who work for the city, and so it's a people business, and it's a people-to-people business.
Right.
Their customers are people, and so, you know, and we do have some business-to-business, but it's the people of Pearland who are our customers. And I tell people, I go into new employee experience, and I always ask, okay, who's our boss? Who's my boss? And it's the people of Pearland. I love it when I get to go and talk to a third grade class because I always go through this. Well, who's my boss? If I'm the head of the local government, who's my boss? And they always ask, you know, they always say, well, the president, the governor, senators, you know, they always, you know, because they're talking about government.
Sure.
And I go, no, I'm about to blow your mind. You're my boss.
Oh, I bet they love that.
Whoa, really? I'm your boss? That's crazy. You know, and it's important to me that even a third grader, we work for them.
Absolutely.
We're working for their future. We're working for the city that they're going to inherit one day.
Yeah.
And so
And we have to be good stewards of it.
it's important to me that we talk about it. And
Yeah.
so when I talk to new hires, I say, look, who's your boss?
Yeah.
Everybody has a supervisor, direct report or whatever, but who's your boss?
Yeah.
Well, your boss is the people of Pearland. We work for all of them. And so, mindful, when you've got that uniform on and you come in contact with a member of the public, remember that is your boss.
That's right. Yep.
And think about it,
Yep.
you're about to go in and have a check-in with your supervisor.
Yep.
How's that experience going to
Yeah.
be?
What weather do you bring in there? Yeah.
How's that experience, right?
Yeah.
And understand, sometimes they're not happy to see us, or we're inconveniencing them because of a water outage or a water main break,
Yeah. Or blocking a road or whatever. the case
whatever.
may be.
And that's
Yeah.
all part of the business, but it's how you interact, understanding that, and that interaction is going to go better
Sure.
if you just remember, hey, this is the person I
People
work for.
first.
People first.
Yep.
And if you put people first, we will change that. And as a result, I want to have a local government that has exceptional customer service. That's how we change the trust factor.
Absolutely.
We are not Washington, D.C. We are
Right.
not in Austin.
Nope.
We're in Pearland.
That's right.
I can't control what goes on in D.C. I can't control what goes on in Austin. But we can have a say-so right here in our
Absolutely,
community. And
yep.
so this Chief Customer Experience Officer is going to help us move in that direction to have exceptional customer service, and it's going
An
to take
intentional
some time.
movement. That's
And
the
intentional.
biggest thing. You know,
And-
we've always wanted to be good at customer service,
Correct.
but this is an intentional focus on we're putting a person in this position to help us drive in a very intentional direction.
So it's exciting to see. It's going to be a work in progress.
It's going to be
It's going to be something that unfolds over time.
Yep.
but one I think that we can look back over the next 3 to 5 years and say we made a big dent and difference there, and that's important. That's important.
Yeah.
So,
last thing that I want to cover here, we do have coming up in a couple months, we want to make sure everybody else on the radar is the mayor's State of the City address. This is an annual event. It is hosted by the chamber. It's a luncheon that they host. We usually pack the hall with it at the First Church at their event center down there. A great recap of a wide variety of topics. And the thing that I really love about it is it really changes from year to year. The format of it and how we engage with people and how we interact. We do offer a live stream version of that event as well, so people can watch it from wherever. But we also recognize that it is a middle of the day event on a Thursday typically, and so it's challenging for a lot of everyday people to be able to make the time for it, and there are space limitations. So the question that we have for you all out in TV land is, if we offered a version of it that was in the evening time, that was just a come and see, sort of a distilled version, meet the mayor, learn about the important things in the state of the city that are going on, would that be of interest to anybody? So if you're watching this and you want to take the time, leave a comment for us or reach out to the mayor. We'll put out his email address and let us know that would be of interest to you. Because, full transparency, it would take time and resources to orchestrate that. But if there is value from the community's perspective, we would certainly be interested in entertaining that.
Absolutely. And I don't want to take away from what we do at the chamber and have that event. It's one that I look forward to every single year. But I also would like to come back and do an evening, whether it's at the same church, the First Church, or do we do a school auditorium. I'd like to see 200 or 300 people in Pearland say, yes, let's do that, and I would come and I would like to grow that audience in that fashion.
So not take anything away, just add to.
We want to add to it, and this year's topic is really going to be around our core values as a city, and what does that mean to us? And it goes back to the people.
And how do we activate that? Right?
Yeah, it's people. It's a people business, and it's a people first business, and so the core values is why and how and who we do it all. So it's real important that we get that done.
There's a comment that says, I would go if you cater Gringos in the evening. Kevin is always at Gringos. I would go if we were catering Gringos, but I don't think you want me spending that much of our tax dollars on Gringos. That's really funny. We appreciate that, Brittany, and we'll take that into consideration. I'll see if we can get EDC to pay for Gringos or something. I kid.
No, that's good. We did have a question come in. How's the crime rate now in Pearland? I don't have a current statistic. I think the last thing that I did see and hear from police is that our major crime rate, or trying to remember how they term it, is down, which is a good thing. What I don't know, typically this time of year, petty theft and those types of things are up because you have more vehicles out and people shopping and that type of thing. But overall, our crime is down in Pearland, which is good. Very good.
Well, and Renell, I tell you, follow the Pearland Police Department. It's at Pearland PD on all major social channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Right now they are doing seasonal crime safety tips. So one of the ones we just recently released, I believe, was don't leave your gun in your car. It shocks me that we have to say that, but we need to say things like that just as a gentle reminder that there are a lot of people just test door locks to see if they're unlocked.
Lock them.
Well,
and keep in mind we're a front line. People coming in, crime spilling over from Houston, Harris County, coming down the freeway, and so we're very mindful of that. We have a lot of things that we use to make sure that we fight that crime, and our PD does a phenomenal job doing that. So.
Yep, and they do have an annual report. We put it out every year. I forget what month exactly we put it out, but I mean there is a lot of data on crime and
Annual
trends
reports,
and things like that.
it'll probably come out in February or
That's
March.
what I'm thinking, yeah. So keep an eye out for that, and always reach out to us with questions like that. We're happy to track down answers for you.
Yeah. Well, Josh, I'm just going to wrap up. I want to tell everybody here, just hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to each and every one of you. Wonderful New Year. 2025 will be here.
Yeah.
The great thing about New Year's is it's that opportunity for just newness, freshness. It's a start for the year. If 2024 has been difficult, 2025 is coming. We have that opportunity to just leave 24, in the rearview mirror and move forward. If 2024 was great, you have the opportunity to carry it with you.
Make it even better in 25.
And so that's the great thing for me about New Year's is it's just that opportunity to do it. Again, being your mayor is a joy. It's a pleasure. It truly is an honor. I look at it every year, and my resolutions are to be a better person, learn from things, certainly make mistakes each and every day, and how do we learn and get better and all that. And 2025 gives us the opportunity to change some things and change who we are and move forward. But I just want to personally tell everybody that's on here and listening, have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas to you. Enjoy your family.
Yeah.
Enjoy some time. If you're busy and you have some time to just chill, I mean, what an opportunity to just rest and get geared up and start 2025 all, fresh and new. And same thing with our staff and you and Josh and everyone. Just Merry Christmas to you. And
Thank you.
We hope we have a great holiday season and everybody be safe and sound. And we did talk about a little bit. Fireworks are going to come on New Year's. They're going to be there. We can't get to 400 calls all at once. That's just going to be there. I wish people were a little bit more cognizant of their neighbors, but they're not. We do make many a call that night. We do confiscate multiple pounds of fireworks during the course of the evening.
And they're not illegal in the city because we like to be fun killers. They're illegal because they're a fire hazard and cause genuine damage to households. And so they are illegal in city limits. Fire Marshal's Office and Pearland PD and Pearland Fire would like to remind you that. And so we do want you to have a happy and safe New Year's, but please don't do the fireworks.
So with that,
I know I do have one more question for you. What did you ask Santa for Christmas this year? What's the thing that you're hoping is under the tree Christmas morning for you?
I never ask Santa for anything.
You just go out and get it yourself?
I usually. So
well, there you have it then.
I'm that guy. I'm hard to buy for because everybody's like, well, what does he need? And I usually go and get. So
you're content?
Yeah. So for me, it's just making sure that our kids and grandkids are healthy and have fun, and it's about them. And we have Christmas Eve. We'll have everybody to the house, and it'll be hectic and crazy and all that kind of stuff.
That's what it's supposed to be.
And then
right?
Christmas Day, we'll make the rounds to each one of the kids and the grandkids, and usually Christmas afternoon is super quiet.
Yeah.
Because everybody is out and about and gone, and we're just home by ourselves, and
ready with the trash bag.
Yeah. And Lisa will start taking the tree down and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, and when she starts messing with her tree, I just leave. She's pretty particular about it.
Sure.
And if you were to see it, you would understand why. But I mean, so that's a little bit about our Christmas traditions. We're planning to maybe bug out and be out of town just a little bit the week of New Year's.
Awesome.
For a few days.
Well, enjoy the time. It's well earned.
With some friends and downtime and all that. So, yeah.
Well, you heard it here. Mayor's content. He wants y'all to have a happy Christmas, Merry New Year. Yeah. Nope, the other way around. Thank y'all for joining us. We hope you have a good evening, and we'll see you again in January.
That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.